Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second spot, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Trish on the bottom.
Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging. And to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to, or welcome back to, the ASRL Sports Car Championship. Tonight, I'm going to be one of your hosts on the mic. I'm Sagar Bocci. Joined with me is Brian Zinn, and I'm also the producer tonight. But the track cameras are brought to you by TrackCams22.com for all your track camera needs. Check them out. But tonight, it's going to be hot and heavy. Tonight, we're racing at a track that is a little bit unfamiliar for these drivers. We're at the NURBURGRING Grand Prix circuit. Last week, we were at Indy. Next week, we're at the Sandown Raceway. Coming up this night here at the Nürburgring, we have a track length of 3.1 miles or 5.1 kilometers. I still don't know what a kilometer is. It's been founded in 1927. It's the modern day circuit that we're racing on. It was added in 1984 when Formula One got a little too quick out there. It's been the current layout since 2003. We are in Nürburgring, Germany. We have 15 corners, 6 to the left, 9 to the right, with 187 feet of elevation change. Let's take a look at the points standing as well in the C7 prototype. It's Christopher Hill with 127 points, Damian Dana with 118, Brian Dees with 101, Travis Fleming with 88 points, Brody Gunter with 83. In the GT3 category, it's Ken Maduro with 132 points, Victor Aldrich with 113, Corey Rutherford with 105. Ty with 94, Daniel with 61, and the teams, it'll be MFRD with 195, Team Watson Racing with 188, tied with Working in Progress with 188, TWRSJ Division in P3. In P4, Team Fast-ish in P5, rounding out all of the teams and all of the top fives tonight. Now, Brian Zinn, how do you feel about tonight's race, sir?
Yeah, like you said, new venue for our drivers tonight, but one I would argue is equally as steeped in history as last week's venue at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Nürburgring, everybody knows it, whether you know it from the Nordschleife, from the Touristenfahrten, the,
Brian? Brian, do you have it there? Brian?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Wow. All right.
A little
Discord
bit of
is having issues.
Yeah, I greatly apologize for that, but I have you loud and clear as we come to the end of qualifying now. 8 minutes already on the clock, and drivers wrapping things up now. Your thoughts about this race here at the Nürburgring?
Yeah, a track equally as steeped in history as Indy was that our drivers were at last week. You know, whether you know it from the Nordschleife, the 13 plus mile monstrosity that's just off behind the barriers that our drivers are going by right now on screen, or you know it from modern day European F1 racing, or as the layout that they're using tonight, the WC races in the late 2010s. But yeah, it's a fantastic track, very technical track, should present a nice challenge for our drivers tonight.
You're absolutely right. It's technical rather than flowing. It's heavy under the traction zone, and it's very sensitive to setup and tire management. Of course, we have a couple of key sectors. We have the Castrol S at turn 1, the Mercedes Arena, which is tight, slow complex that's going to punish you for poor rotation and overheated front. You have the Schumacher S's high speed left, right, left, where commitment is really going to matter, and the Worcester Curve of the fast entry quarter that rewards confidence and good aero balance. And of course, you have the final chicane that the drivers have to negotiate as well. So it's just a lot to deal with here. And what do you think about the C7s versus the GT3s tonight?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting dynamic. I expect there to be a big gap between the two classes. You know, Indianapolis and Daytona were a challenge because the top speeds are very similar between the two classes of cars, but that's not going to be a concern here tonight. There's just simply not enough straightaway for the GT3s or the Corvette DP to top out. So I expect the Corvettes to be able to get a lot of moves done in traffic under the brakes, especially going down into that turn 1 section, as well as potentially even up into the chicane out of the Schumacher S.
Very true. These DPIs, or just DPs as they are aptly put, really have a good sense about them, and their speed is made up in different ways than the modern day GT3s. So where the overtakes are going to happen is a little bit different than what we see in normal multi-class racing. This is going to be a lot different. We saw Indy, the drivers had to make up time in the twisty bits rather than coming down the straights, because the GT3s were able to challenge in a straight line. So that was quite interesting to see. Let's go ahead and take a look at the grid as the drivers are getting set up and ready to take the red lights. It'll be Damien Diana in P1 and Christopher Hill in P2. Derek Tyndall in P3 with James Watson in P4. On row number 3, Brian Dees and P6, J.W. Miller. And excuse me, we might actually be getting ready to take the lights here. So no time for the grid. I apologize. The drivers already rolling and rearing to go. Now, tell me, Brian, do the drivers leave a gap in the GT3 class to these DPs, or are we all going at the same time tonight?
No, it's been pretty bunched up on the starts, which has led to some chaotic moments, and I expect funneling down into the tight hairpin in turn 1 will be no different tonight.
Exciting to say the least. Let's get ready to take to the race start. Drivers rearing and ready to go. And it's green, 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 down and towards turn 1, coming down the stretch is Christopher Hill and Damien Dana, bleeding each other down and weaving under the braking zone, coming all the way from downtown. Will be James Watson, I believe, who was looking like he wanted to make a move. No, that's Corey Michael, who made 2 moves up on the start, leading down and towards turn 1, but up at the front, we're going to be side by side through turn 3, all the way through the arena section. They're going to continue to challenge each other's bout, both blow for blow.
Yeah, Damien Dana and Christopher Hill are 2 championship challengers, leading 1-2 in the standings, and these guys have been match for match all season long. Indianapolis, especially the sprint race, was a fantastic duel between these 2 guys, and now you got Derek Tyndall, who had a strong showing in his first week last week at Indianapolis, and he's showing he's picking up right where he left off last week, as they are nose to tail 1st through 4th coming out of the Dunlop curve there.
absolutely glued to the hip right now. Let's not forget about those GT3s either, because it'll be Maduro in P1 in front of Miglin in P2, Aldrich in third, Estep in fourth, and Rutherford falling down to fifth place, losing 3 on the good already.
Yeah, Rutherford had a spin in the first couple of corners. Not sure if he had some help from that. We'll have to go back and take a look at that once the chaos and excitement of the first few laps died down a little bit. But should be a good time to touch on a unique format for tonight's race. Those of you that are familiar with the ASRL series know that normally it's a 20-minute sprint race and a 40-minute feature race, but tonight it's a 60-minute endurance race. So very interesting to see our usual suspects going at it so aggressively right from the get-go, but that's the way they've been all season, so we shouldn't really be too surprised by that between Dania and Hill. Like I said, 2 championship contenders at the moment, and everybody else is kind of fighting for third at the moment. So interesting to note, no Brody tonight. Normally Brody is sticking around for the sprint race and can't make the feature, but maybe with it being an endurance race, he wasn't able to join at all tonight. So unfortunate to see him miss this round, but we've still got plenty of action as we see Keanu Maduro, who's been relatively unchallenged this season in GT3. He's under attack from Daniel Miglin, who, new for this week, swapped from the BMW to the Acura and is making great use of that car so far.
Really is. Daniel Miglin got the move done around Maduro going in towards turn 1. That one was quick, fast, in a hurry. We do have 57 minutes remaining on the clock, though, so plenty of time for Maduro to make that position back up and find his way into P1 for the category. Right now, sitting in P2 for the 188 right now. Something I really want to look at is this beautiful livery that Kino Maduro has on his car. It's just something that brings so much to a championship and bring out the character of the drivers. But hold that thought, we've got a side-by-side run into the final chicane for the DP cars, the Coyotes, nipping at the heels of each other right now. The 101 and the 98 challenging each other through this chicane, but the 98 falls back to the 101 of Christopher Hill out in front. The 44 of Derek Tyndall lurking in the background with an I rating of 2.1K and thinks that P3 just might not be good enough for his throne.
Yeah, Derek finished on the podium last week in the feature race, and like I said, that was his first week in the series. But as you saw there, they had started building up a small gap over Derek, Christopher and Damien, that is, to about a second or so. But as soon as they went side by side, going into the chicane there, it allowed Derek to close right up real quick, and I expect that to be a theme all night. If cars in front start battling, especially in the Daytona Prototype class, it's going to allow the cars behind in that clean air to close up really quickly. Not really familiar how strong the draft is, and really the longest run that these guys are going to have is out of the Schumacher S and through that left-right complex heading down to the chicane. But yeah, very interesting to see, and something we'll have to keep an eye on throughout the rest of this race. As you said, 55 plus minutes to go, so these guys are not driving like it's an endurance race tonight so far.
Definitely not thinking like this is going to be a very long double stint. And as you said earlier in the broadcast, we do have a unique format here for the Sports Car Championship, where for this endurance event, points are going to be awarded at the 30-minute mark, just as you would hear for the Michelin Pilot Challenge, or you would hear about stage points being awarded in NASCAR. If you're familiar with those categories of racing, this isn't too unfamiliar to you. So drivers are kind of shooting for 2 races in this one race, shooting for being in the lead or being in a good points paying position at the very least for heat number 1 at that 30-minute mark, but also for heat number 2 when we do get to the end of the 60 minutes. So we are expecting a couple of pit stops from the drivers to time those properly going through the race. So what that will look like, not so sure, as I'm familiar with these Coyotes that are out here, but we do expect to see maybe 3 to 4 pit stops, right, Brian?
I would expect 2 pit stops. Usually they can run about 30, 35 minutes or so, if I'm recalling correctly. So 1, maybe 2 stops, depending on how much fuel saving you do. It will be interesting. I don't know what the fuel cap is that the admins have in place for these cars, but Daytona prototypes, they're not on the new tire model, so not sure if we will see, as we see currently at the moment, Damien and Christopher resuming their battle yet again. They're going side by side up into the Schumacher S. Who's going to give here? It's going to be Dania on the outside, has to lift and tuck in. That is an easy place to go 2x2 through there, as you saw there. And Dania, he's going to mount an attack going into the next corner here. Look to the outside, he's going to get squeezed, boxed out. Christopher Hill, good defense there, didn't touch. And they resume station 1-2, nose to tail.
What
but,
a squeeze! Holy smokes! Coming through the Michelin curve, my heart was beating out of my chest. Running off onto the green stuff on the outside there is quite slippery, and especially in these cars, that could be a code brown moment for anybody. Sorry to interrupt you there, Brian.
No, absolutely. The Daytona prototypes, especially these Corvette DPs, they don't have ABS, they don't have traction control, and they're not on the new tire models. So you can definitely, there's no flat spotting in iRacing, but we call them flash spotting. If you lock up or light up the rear tires getting on the gas too early, you'll overheat them, and it takes a while to come back to proper grip levels. So something to watch out for these drivers. Dania, he was talking during the week leading up to this race. He was trying to come to grips with the car to be able to mount a better challenge to Christopher Hill. It definitely seems like he's figured something out, but you know, they're all over each other. And if I'm Derek Tyndall, I may be sitting there in the catbird seat going, you know what? I'm good being a second back. I'll let you guys take each other out, and I'll just pick up the pieces.
That might be the smart play for Tyndall right now. Last lap around was a 1:48.7, his personal best, but we've only had 4 laps of running so far. So a little bit of time left there. And as you talk about the tires, we do expect the drivers to potentially run these tires throughout the 60-minute stint, maybe, right? Or will they get a change of boots and get back out on the racetrack, Brian?
I think that's definitely something they're going to have to weigh, the, you know, benefits of taking tires compared to the time lost in the pits. You know, you might potentially take it with your first pit stop and work to use that fresh grip that you'll have at the end compared to somebody that's on double stinted tires, and see if it pays out for you in the end. You know, I don't believe that we do any sort of full course yellows or anything, so there's no strategy that comes into play with the safety car, but that's something that these drivers may have tried during practice, figure out how long a full service pit stop is versus just a fuel service, and see if it outweighs the time lost to have the performance benefit of brand new tires at the end of the race.
Excellent strategy decisions need to be made. Unfortunately for these drivers, probably going to be made at around 250 kilometers per hour. Coming down the straightaway, we're seeing top speeds up to 267, 279 for some of these DPs. Down into the 250s and 251s for some of the GT3s that just can't keep up in a straight line. Here we're looking at the battle for P1 for the DPs right now. Christopher Hill and Damien Dania battling it out in the 101, and the number 98 goes to the inside line at the bottom of the hill, and that was a lick of the stamp and quite the send, to say the least. Well, this battle isn't over yet. Christopher Hill follows suit up the hill, and I always say to drivers, you kind of race how you're being raced against, and I think we're going to see a little bit more elbows out racing than not. Christopher Hill getting a slowdown penalty for cutting up the hill through the Schumacher S's. This might be Derek Tyndall's opportunity to shine, as he's been very patient for the last couple of moments.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw there, Christopher Hill definitely didn't like the pass that Dania made into the Dunlop hairpin there, and drove with a little bit of red mist, I'll say, going up through the Schumacher S's, and unfortunately took too much of that curb, got himself a slowdown, and if he's not careful, bleeding off the rest of that, he's going to end up with a black flag here shortly. So something to look out here as he slows down on the exit of the final corner there, and Derek Tyndall says, "Thank you very much, I will inherit that second place." But unfortunately, that's allowed Dania to scamper off to a 2-second lead over these two, and they're going to start battling. Hill obviously is going to want to recover that lost time, and that's just going to slow him down even further if Tyndall wants to put up a fight. So yeah, these two came to blows on the last lap of the feature race in Indianapolis. You could see it brewing through the sprint race and all through the features, so it's not surprising that they've picked up their heated battle from the drop of the green flag tonight. It was almost expected, and yeah, Christopher Hill probably is a little bit peeved under the helmets inside that cockpit there, but we'll see if he can catch back up and potentially return the favor later in this race.
A 2-second gap over one lap. Can it be made up over the next 48 minutes of this race? Derek Tyndall really didn't put up much of a fight when Christopher Hill was challenging for P2. I think that was a strategy thought process or strategy decision, to say the least. The 44 thinking miles ahead down the road, saying, I don't really need to put up a fight with you. I can just sit back and fuel save for a little while and take a shorter pit stop and maybe challenge for P2 later down the road. But now it doesn't seem like it's a great time for us to fight. 47 minutes remaining on the clock. I think cooler heads will prevail in this conversation. Let's check out Corey Rutherford, who's down 2 on the good for the night, driving the Ferrari, chasing down Victor Aldrich in front in 13th place overall, but Victor's in P3 for the category.
Yeah, absolutely. Rutherford recovering from the spin he had in lap 1 and closing in on Victor Aldrich. And you were touching on liveries earlier in the broadcast, and I said it a couple of weeks back and last week as well. This league up and down the grid has some very awesome looking cars, and Victor Aldrich's Acura is no slouch in that department, as we see Rutherford hounding the back of that Acura. Two very similar cars, both twin-turbo V6 mid-mounted rocket ships, battling it out here for third place, final step on the GT3 podium. Corey Rutherford, our chief admin of the series, and he was talking to us a little bit before the broadcast started about the unique format for tonight's race. It's the first endurance race they have this season. I believe they're doing 2 overall throughout the season. I'd have to double check the calendar on that, but definitely looking to see how far up the podium Corey can work his way over the next 46 minutes.
Absolutely. Corey sitting in 4th place right now, but not too far off of the podium, and both drivers sitting in pretty purple liveries, let's just say. But both drivers bringing their character to the racetrack tonight here in Germany. Battling it out on track, leaving it all out there for the 15 corners and 187 feet of elevation change. Of course, we do have a lot of history and historic events at the Nürburgring. Of course, a lot of it being revolved around the extra long 172 corner or so, depending on how you count them, Nürburgring Nordschleife.
Yeah, absolutely. The Nordschleife was home to Formula One and the German Grand Prix for many, many years until the mid-70s when they had to come up with a different solution because safety became paramount, and it was just too sketchy. Cars were getting too fast. If anybody's watched the fantastic movie Rush, be very familiar with the Niki Lauda crash. It's one of the most infamous incidents, I'll say, at the Nordschleife, but out of it bore the Nürburgring GP circuit, which is what we're running tonight, and we're running the WEC layout, so it's not the normal Formula One, very abrupt 90-degree chicane at the end of the lap. It's the more smoother flowing in my opinion, better flowing chicane version that we have tonight. But yeah, the Nürburgring GP, it's been host to the European Grand Prix, the German Grand Prix, as I said, WEC, the World Endurance Championship, numerous sports car races, and it's used during the Nürburgring Langstrecken, or the NLS series, which is a series of endurance races of both the GP and the Nordschleife layouts, as well as, of course, the Nürburgring 24 Hours, which it's on my bucket list of races to get to. It just looks so much fun when I'm watching it on TV. So it reminds me that people went to a party and a race broke out. So it's one of my favorite events of the year to watch.
100%. Going to the NLS is on my bucket list as well, but getting the time and the finances to take the time off to go party for 48 hours, because I mean, it really is a festival over an entire weekend rather than just a 24-hour race. Like you said, racing home of DTM, GT World Challenge, NLS, the Nürburgring Endurance Series, where they race on the GP and the Nordschleife combo, both at the same time, which brings out some very interesting points where we have a quick contrast between the GP circuit versus the Nordschleife. We have it, the GP circuit is modern and safe versus historic and brutal. We have the GP circuit was technical with a lot of kind of stop starting, and the Nordschleife, which is flowing and relentless. GP circuit is sensitive to setups, and the Nordschleife really isn't. It's all about memory and rhythm. GP circuit is great for wheel-to-wheel racing, as we're seeing right now between J.W. Miller and Corey Mitchell leading in P5 right now. But the Nordschleife is really fixed around endurance rather than wheel-to-wheel racing. And here comes Corey Mitchell getting around a GT driver. That will be Ken Esp, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, that will be Esp.
Yeah, Corey Mitchell making his series debut tonight. He was a viewer last week for the Indianapolis round, and liked what he saw and felt like he wanted to hop on board this fantastic Corvette Daytona Prototype. Talked about it on the broadcast a couple weeks ago, and really we just kind of wondered ourselves why the Daytona Prototype's not used more often. It's such a brutal, such a fun car to drive. There's no driver aids on it. It's just some would say a proper race car, but it makes a fantastic sound. It feels really great when you nail a lap in it. It really rewards good driving. And I don't want to say that it's akin to the Porsche Cup car, but I know there was a contingent of iRacers that was very disappointed when the Porsche Cup car was updated to add ABS and traction control, and they were looking for a car to drive that had no assists. And, well, here you go, Exhibit A for cars to drive. It's one of my favorite cars on the service.
I mean, it really is a unique car. A, because of the lack of the aids that you get, but B, because of its driving characteristics overall. I mean, it really rewards throttle control and mechanical grip overall, and it excels in multi-class traffic. The feeling that you get driving one of these cars is just absolute raw control. I mean, it's physical compared to modern hybrid cars. I mean, just talk about some of the most historic events and the overall victories. Let's talk about the Rolex 24. If you were trying to win a Rolex 24 from 2012 to 2015, I believe, you had to do it in one of these Corvettes. It was the only way to do it. Team Action Express in 2012, Wayne Taylor in 13, Action Express in 14. Oh yeah, let's talk about a couple IMSA championships as well. 2014 IMSA WeatherTech Championship, 2015 IMSA Prototype Championship. This doesn't even highlight Sebring 12 hours, overall wins and podiums, walk-in 6 hours, Petit Le Mans, where they were feared was in the night stints, high traffic, multi-class races, and in hot conditions.
Absolutely. My first sports car race that I went to was the 2016 Lone Star Le Mans at Circuit of the Americas, and that was the last year that these cars were the featured prototype in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, or I guess I don't remember if it was what is today the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. I think it had a different name back then. But anyway, yeah, and walking in the gates at turn 1 at the top of the hill there, and hearing those Corvette Daytona prototypes go rumbling by, and then the Corvette C7R right behind it. There's no words to describe the literal vibrations that went through your body there, and I was still quite a ways away from the track. So it's such a good car. I have fond memories of it. My only disappointment is I wasn't on the iRacing service when this was the top prototype car, and to have been able to do the iRacing 24 Hours of Daytona in this car would have been a lot of fun, I imagine. So but yeah, as you said, Ford had their version of the Daytona prototype, but the Corvette was, in my opinion, head and shoulders above the Ford. It was the car to beat. It's what everybody wanted to drive. If you were into the Daytona prototype, you weren't in an LMP2. And I mean, Wayne Taylor Racing, I mean, the Taylor brothers, Ricky and Jordan, just wiped the floor in this car in IMSA in 2016. It was just such a dominant performance.
Yeah, you're definitely not wrong about that. If we're going to talk about who would I insert, hold that thought, as Christopher Hill comes down pit road. Now, is this a strategy call for the 30-minute mark and the points that'll be awarded there? Or is this a strategy call looking towards the end of the race at that 1 hour minute mark? What's going through Christopher Hill's mind right now as he's in pit road? Very quick pit stop, and he's out and rolling again. 8.3 seconds, the pit stop time. Pit lane time of 36.3 seconds.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point that you bring up. We're only 7 minutes away from that 30-minute mark when the first set of points are going to get awarded. So not knowing what the fuel cap was, obviously Dania Tyndall and James Watson carried on, so they still have fuel on board that they're making use of. We'll have to see if any of those top three at the moment answer the call of Christopher Hill coming into the pits, or as you said, for Christopher Hill, knowing that 2 pit stops is almost certain in this hour-long race, if he's just looking at it and breaking it up into thirds, and wants to undercut anybody else and get out in clean air and make the use of it. So we'll see how the rest of the cars in DP respond. That'll give us an indication of if this was a true undercut, or perhaps Christopher Hill was just using a little bit too much fuel on that recovery from the slowdown that he had battling Dania a few laps back.
Very true. We'll have to see. Derek Tyndall still staying out, but Daniel Miglin is actually down pit road at this time of asking. So a couple of drivers deciding to make that decision, but here comes Watson and Tyndall at the very last second, both coming down pit road. Watson had a big wiggle there when he was on the brakes coming down pit lane, but now he's looking okay. But Tyndall in P3 might be gaining some ground and a couple of positions potentially. We'll have to keep an eye on that, but right now it will be Damien out on the racetrack leading the field.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that again, because Tyndall was ahead of Watson as they were entering the pits, and something happened with Derek. Not sure if he just didn't know where the pit entry was or had an issue getting into the pits, but somehow, some way, James Watson got ahead of him, and Derek Tyndall will effectively have dropped to fourth place on the road.
Let's see.
After the pit stop cycle through.
I think I have a replay of Derek Tyndall going off track. Let's hit the button. Hopefully everything works. Here's the 44 coming into the final chicane on the replay. And whoa, that's a big off and a big Code Brown moment for the 44. Chucking it through the chicane and a dangerous rejoin. Holy smokes, and that's how Watkins got by. And that's why he was wiggling his way on the brakes, because he was just a little sketched out there, I think.
Yeah, Tyndall just completely misjudging the chicane there. Easy to do with how fast it is, and those curbs are completely unforgiving going through there. So definitely not what Derek wanted, especially being on an in lap. You do not want any sort of hindrance. You want a clean, fast in lap to try and make up the most ground you can on anybody else. But yeah, definitely a dodgy rejoin. Fortunate that whoever that was in the Acura coming through did not get collected on it, and likewise too with Watson having already decided he was going to come to the pits. Yeah, so a couple of unfortunate corners there for Derek. He's going to get relegated down to fourth, possibly fifth on the road with that time loss. We'll see after the pit stop shakeout. So for Christopher Hill, it doesn't seem like it was a massive undercut. Everybody else answered the call to come down pit road a lap or two later, so definitely seems like everybody's reaching the end of their first fuel stint here. Based on pit timings, I don't see anybody that took tires. Derek had the longest pit stop at 21.77 seconds. That's likely due to an unsafe pit entry as he was crossing the red and white curbing going into pit road there after that spin, so that would have drawn a penalty, I'm sure. And other than that, I believe everybody else has made it to pit road except for, I take that back, Jesse Pate and Brian Dees have not made it to pit road yet.
A couple of drivers maybe extending this stint a little bit long now, as we see the pit time on the left-hand side of your screen where the timing would normally be. We're seeing Pate and Dees both stay out, maybe fuel saving this first stint and getting those coveted points at the halfway point. It's very interesting, the possibilities that are available to these drivers thinking in the long term during these endurance events.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got about 2.5 minutes now until the points are awarded, but can't make it last 2.5 minutes worth of fuel, unfortunately, as both Pate and Dees come down pit road, the last of our Daytona Prototype drivers to come down pit road at least one time. So answers that question relatively quickly there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. I thought that these gentlemen were going to be able to stay out, do something a little bit sneaky, but they prove us wrong as commentators, or at least prove me wrong. I won't throw you under the same boat as me. Victor Aldrich also down pit road in the number 88, like you said earlier. Beautiful livery for the TWR SJ division from Victor Aldrich, the number 88, trying to find a podium tonight, and right now could do so, with Corey Rutherford and Maduro both challenging as well. We're seeing the drivers use the blue flags really well and respecting them as they should. So seeing an elevated class of drivers here, although, you know, I'm seeing I ratings in the 1000s, the 3000s are here, the 36s are here as well. The range and the depth of field will allow anybody that wants to join the Purple Haze Autosports, the ASRL community and just drive a car with their friends. They could do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There are certain leagues that cater to special groups, if you will. I know of a league that is only open to drivers less than 1500 I rating, but I've come to learn that when it comes to leagues, I rating doesn't quite necessarily mean anything because you have a group of drivers on iRacing that just do nothing but league racing, and I can't fault them with the standards in official racing, unfortunately, nowadays in a lot of series, especially sports car series, and so drivers just seek the safe confines of league racing, where usually there's stewards enforcing bad driving penalties, or just overall better community to get support on improving your technique and your skills. And that's really what it's all about, is just lifting each and everybody up so that everybody slowly gets better. And when everybody gets better and everybody's having fun, the product shows on the track, as we've seen so far through 4 weeks or 5 weeks here in the ASRL series.
I think you're absolutely right about that. I myself, as a league racer, really only benefited as a sim racer from league racing. when I was chasing ELO points or MMR rating or safety rating, I would find myself getting frustrated, chasing numbers around that were arbitrary to how good I actually was able to perform, over an hour, over a 3 hour, over a 6 hour stint. But the league racing that I was in gave me the skills over those 20-minute sprint races to fine-tune my abilities to go wheel to wheel with other people. So I agree with you 100%. I rating means nothing to me, but to some people it's absolutely everything and will shame you for it. But I believe the ASRL community is just catering to those that want to join, have a good time, and really enjoy clean, good pack racing like we've seen up until this point. And we do have the halfway point points awarded. Will be on the left-hand side of your screen right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So after all the pit stops cycle through, our top three getting points in the Daytona Prototype class are going to be Dania, Hill, and Watson. With that miscue from Derek Tyndall, he's going to lose out on several positions worth of points, dropping from P3 before the pit stops down to P6. And your top three in GT3 get points is going to be Daniel Miglin and his Acura, followed by Keanu Madero and Victor Aldrich and another Acura. So I said it last week, as a fan of the Acura, and it's kind of a redheaded stepchild in the GT3 field and the officials, it's nice to see. It was nice to see Victor in the Acura bearing the flag for as long as he was, and then to see Daniel Miglin switch from the BMW to the Acura was very nice as well. So and rocking the Hatsune Miku paint as well. So man of culture, love to see that as well. So yes, definitely nice to see. And after all the talk about if any drivers would try and do things out of the norm to maximize points, it all seemed to be pretty standard, with the pit stop coming just before the 30-minute mark, kind of shaking things up a little bit. And there was some shuffling of positions, but that was mostly due to driver errors and not really a strategy thing.
Very true, yeah. I guess I gave the drivers a little bit too much credit, where they're confined a little bit to maybe the confines of the rule set or the fuel limitations that they were given at the beginning of the race, and limited to those decisions alone. So drivers knowing best and making the strategy calls that they could to make it to the halfway point of the race. And now it's time to look forward for the remaining 30 minutes of this race, or 26 minutes and 50 seconds to be exact, as we look at Daniel Miglin right now, who's leading the GT3 field and looking good while doing it, driving that number 4 Acura or Honda, depending on what part of the world you're in, of course.
Absolutely, yes. Acura is pretty much an exclusively American brand, and it is the American arm of Honda, if you will, or the luxury arm, similar as Lexus is to Toyota. So definitely some interesting dynamics that exist in real world manufacturers. And we may have some viewers overseas that have never heard of what Acura is. And so for those of you curious, the Acura NSX is the exact same as the Honda NSX, just an A instead of an H on the badge.
Yep, that's exactly what it is, and depending on what sim you're driving, you'll see the Acura badge or you'll see the Honda badge, but they're the exact same thing under one roof. And similarly, we'll see a Lexus badged Toyota take to the racetrack come 2027, and I am a Lexus fan through and through and a Toyota fan. I've even named my dog Lexus Toyota Bakshi, so shows you how through and through I am. A Vassar Sullivan new machinery coming in 2027. Really looking forward to that as we see another JDM car return to the field.
Absolutely. That GRGT is a very exciting car to see, and I was hoping beyond hope that it would have made its debut at Daytona this year, being that I was in attendance, but I will have to wait until next year to be able to see it. So, but it was confirmed at Daytona this year that it will be at Daytona next year for the 24 Hours of Daytona. It will make its global competition debut at that point. Or at least North American debut. I don't know if they'll roll it out for a race or two in the winter time of 2026. That remains to be seen, but all we know for certain, it will be at the High Banks of Daytona at the end of January 2027, and I am very excited for it. That V8 sounds amazing in the test footage that they put out, and it's not quite as good as these C7 Daytona prototypes, but in the world of muffled turbocharged engines, anytime we can get a naturally aspirated, thunderous V8, I'm happy for it.
Absolutely. What else could you ask for than a V8 car, and especially one that comes from overseas when you can do it? But right now we're dealing with a different type of muscle. This is American naturally aspirated V8 muscle with 5.5 liters of displacement. We have a Chevy small block based race engine that puts out roughly about 500 horsepower that was regulated by IMSA. The red line, just to be conservative, to make sure that it could run for 24 hours and be consistent at 7,500 RPM. And it took race gasoline, non-hybrid, no boost, straight up fuel.
Yeah, it's very interesting, speaking of American muscle and knowing that these are Corvette Coyote Daytona prototypes, to now know that the engine that was in the Mustang was a Coyote 5.0 liter engine. I always find that kind of funny. But the Coyote was referring to the chassis of the car, and obviously the pushrod V8 is distinctly GM, no Ford products there. So you Corvette and GM purists that are watching, no harm, no foul. There's no contaminating of your brand with Ford input.
And I'm seeing checkered flags come out? Question mark, brother?
Yes, that is a very good question. I'm not sure what is going on with that. Perhaps that is a miscue of the setup for tonight's race, or just a well, we see cars stopping, so I suspect that something didn't get covered properly. But according to the iRacing session that I have open, it has it earmarked for an hour race properly, so I'm not sure what's going on. I will see if you can load up the voice chats and listen into what they're saying.
Well, thank you very much for doing that, but for now, we'll see the remaining drivers and the sights and sounds here at the Nürburgring. Let's talk to you guys about the track a little bit more, as there's so much history here around the Nordschleife and the GP circuit. I guess from a sim racing perspective, in the Sims, the Nürburgring GP circuit exposes overdriving immediately for the drivers, but it will reward clean exits and not heroic entries going into these corners. Kind of makes it excellent for single make series, GT3, GT4, multi-class racing, or Formula cars that are learning tire discipline. So it really breeds to a ton of different variety for the drivers to kind of get to know different disciplines around the same track. I know a lot of drivers struggle with learning different track combos or different car track combos week after week, not really getting comfortable with it. I think the Nürburgring is a great track to learn across all disciplines of racing. Let's go ahead and take a moment to thank our sponsors for this evening. We have Apex Sim Racing with us this evening. Thank you so much to Apex Sim Racing for your sponsorship and joining us tonight for all your sim racing needs. Make sure you check out Apex Sim Racing. We also have another sponsor tonight, and it's going to be part of the track cameras that we've seen tonight. This is going to be track cameras for gourmets. Check out track cams for all of the iRacing track camera packs that we've used tonight.
All right, so looks like something got messed up in the iRacing settings when Corey loaded the session in. He is building a new session to do a 20-minute race that will finish out the remainder of this. So we're going to take a brief pause while that session gets fired up and created, and we will load back in once the race is ready to resume. So what's going to happen is everybody's going to resume in the positions that they were in at the time of the checkered flag. They're going to treat it as if everybody came in, did a pit stop, and then resume back under the safety car, and then they're going to go full tilt for the remaining 20 minutes. So we're going to take a break, swap over that other session, and bring you the conclusion of
So you heard it there from the man, the myth, the legend himself, Brian Zinn, giving us all of the details that we need for this event. Stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back in just a few moments' time, and we'll get the racing action back underway. Don't go anywhere to finish up this race with ASRL. And we are returning back to the racetrack, folks, here at the Nürburgring. A couple of technical difficulties resulted in us having to split up this endurance race into 2 parts, 20 laps for the first, but 20 minutes for the second. We have the drivers getting gridded up right now and rearing and ready to go.
Yeah, not to be outdone by the real-life 24 Hours of Nürburgring last year that had a red flag due to loss of power in the paddock area. We had to create our own version in tonight's ASRL sim race here at the Nürburgring GP circuit. So, as you said, Corey Rutherford, our chief admin, is going through and getting confirmation from everybody that was in the race that they have moved on to the new session, and he has just advanced it to the race session, so everybody should be loading into the grid right now.
Yes, sir. So welcome to the Nexus Racing broadcast. I'm Sagar Bakshi. Joining me is Brian Zinn. You're watching a live broadcast on the ASRL. Please like and subscribe if this is something that you love to see and can't get enough of. Really helps out the analytics and grow our community within ASRL and the Racers Nexus.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're sitting there watching and you're enjoying the racing that you're seeing, definitely find the link in the video description to the ASRL Discord. Hop on in, get all the details, and get on track next week, and you too can be featured on the broadcast.
That would be something. Not many opportunities exist where you yourself can just show up, get seen on screen, and get to have a good time with drivers all around you. Let's take a look at the starting grid that we've officially got for this restart. It will be Dania in P1, Christopher Hill in P2, James Watson in P3, J.W. Miller in 4th place. And
then you'll have Corey Mitchell and Derek Tyndall in 5th and 6th, James Pate and Joshua Rutherford, and then Brian Dees and Travis Fleming rounding out your Daytona Prototype class. And who we got leading the way in GT3?
In the GT3 category, it looks like it will be Daniel Miglin leading the charge, with Maduro in 2nd, Aldrich in 3rd, and Corey Rutherford rounding out the remaining GT3 cars. Pace car is in. And we're ready to go green flag racing in just a few moments after we come around the final corner. Brake lights are on. The drivers are checking up as Damien gets the grid packed up nice and tight. He bunches them up coming down the straightaway. He is playing mind games with the field, and then it's green, green, green. It's actually a poor start for Dania. Christopher Hill trying to go the long way around the outside. We're going to go 3 wide into quarter number 1, but the snap-on machine has a huge lockup, and cars are going deep and wide to avoid the carnage through 1. And now into the Mercedes Arena section. It's still tight, but Damien has fallen back 3 positions down into P4. Make that 2 position as he does damage limitation and climbs back up into 3rd.
Yeah, definitely not what Dania started on the resumption of this race. Haven't had a commanding lead in the first 40 minutes of the race, but that's the nature of a late race restack of the field, and yeah, unfortunate to see. So he's going to be driving very hot and heated at the moment, trying to get back to the top spot, as we see an incident with Travis Fleming and Joshua Rutherford. Little tip of the car into a spin, and Travis doing the respectful thing and letting Joshua have the position back. So chaotic opening lap on this restart, as they are strung out a little bit with the mayhem in turn 1, as James Watson has leaped his way to the top of the field at the moment, and he's being rapidly chased down by the dynamic duo of Christopher Hill and Damian Dania, our 2 fastest, most consistent Daytona Prototype drivers, but also 2 drivers that are fighting for a championship and have had a couple of tense moments themselves between those 2. So as we close down in the final 2 minutes, and James Watson, he's going to cut the chicane, he's going to run out into the grass, That's going to drop him down to third place and give him a slowdown penalty as well. So it's now Damia versus Hill round 8, or whatever round they're on now, battling it out for the lead as Dania is looking to recover from the nudge he got from Watson, though. He's going to fight back. Dania is not going to be happy with this. He wants uncontested laps to get back to the lead that he had in hand from the first part of this race. He is not going to be happy with what has happened so far in this lap, plus a couple of corners here. James Watson, though, he's looking to make the most of it after that mistake, but he's got the black and teal car of Jesse Pate in behind him, and J.W. Miller not far behind, lurking as well.
That is true. A couple of cars looking forward to maybe finding themselves on the podium tonight and joining us post-race for a couple of driver interviews. Perchance, per maybes. We'll see about that. For James Watson right now in the number 39 yellow, pink, and green livery car. You can see that thing from space right now. It's being chased down by Jesse Pate, who's up 3 positions on the restart right now and looking to make it 4 and a podium potentially for the number 31. Sitting pretty on the restart, but challenging now and looking for a podium is awfully different. So go check out the battle between Corey Rutherford and Victor Aldridge in the GT3 battle.
Yeah, Daniel Miglin, who started on the lead of the GT3 field, is fallen back. Not sure if he had a mishap of his own or has just been outpaced so far on this resumption of racing action. But Corey Rutherford has gotten back up to the rear end of the 88 Acura in front. He shows the nose going into the chicane. Tough spot to make a pass there, and thinks wiser of it and backs out of it and stays in third place, heading through the final corner to complete the end of the lap. But that's allowing Keanu Maduro to scatter on down the track, and he's out to a 2-second lead already.
Very good for Maduro right now, looking good into P1, but Rutherford looks to the inside line, hard and heavy on the brakes for the number 5 Purple Haze Motorsports car, but I think he overslowed just a little bit just to be safe and cautious through the arena section. The long way around the outside is dramatically longer, but closing down the gap towards the infield will be important on the run to the backside of the racetrack. This is where it starts to get a little bit more fast and flowy rather than stop, go, stop technicality. And there is Pate and Miller going wheel to wheel, and Miller was able to get through on Pate just a few moments ago.
Yeah, Pate had a little bit of off-road excursion there coming out of the S's, and that allowed J.W. Miller to go through, but it also allowed Corey Mitchell in that 263 Corvette to close up behind, and Derek Tyndall is about half a second back as well. So Jesse shouldn't be looking in his mirrors, but he ought to start looking, because he's got 2 or 3 cars hot on his heels as he gets a bad run through the chicane. That allows Corey to look to the inside going through the final corner. He's going to get even with him. He's about half car ahead halfway through. He pulls ahead on the exit. Oh, and they're going to touch. Looked like Jesse might have come over a little bit there to stay off of the grass, and Corey was there. Unfortunately, that could have ended disastrously for both drivers, but as it is, just a slight touch, and Jesse mows a few blades of grass and drops another position to Derek Tyndall, who follows Corey Mitchell through into P6.
Let's see what happened to Daniel Miglin earlier on in this race, because I'm just curious what happened to him. He was running free and clear out in the lead of the race, coming into the bottom of the hill, and the rear end just became faster than him, and that's what happened to Miglin. But he's back.
Yeah, absolutely. Cold tire moment, looks like. GT3s on the new tire model. As we said, Corvette Daytona prototypes are not. So that's a difference in cold tire behavior right there. But Miglin, man, he came from nowhere, and he's right in the middle of this battle for second and third on the podium as he gets around Corey Rutherford. He's currently sitting P3, but he is not going to be content with that.
Not at all. Miglin looking to charge forward and get around Victor Aldrich. Looks around the outside. Can't find the daylight this opportunity, but now he'll have the run of things leading in towards the bottom of the hill. This is the braking zone where you can really lick the stamp and send it. Go to the gutter line and hug the curbs all the way around the outside. Slingshot your way around the outside, but a little too far for Corey Rutherford as he got that slingshot engaged with a little too much ferocity. Daniel Miglin looking up the hill at the Schumacher S's. Can't find any room to get through on Aldrich now. And then he has a big mountain to climb after that. 5 seconds, the gap to Maduro in the lead of the event. And there's a big lick of the kitty litter. And that'll allow Miglin to walk right on through going into the final chicane. And that was a piece of cake for Daniel Miglin.
Yeah, Miglin uninhibited now after getting around Corey Rutherford and Victor Aldrich. He's going to set his sights to try and close in as best he can on Keanu Maduro. And something has happened with Maduro because that gap was almost 5 seconds, and now it's down to 2.5 seconds. So not sure if he had a poor exit coming out of the final hairpin or what was going on there, but we got a race on in GT3. Daniel Miglin, he's on a charge after that self-inflicted spin that he had on lap 1, and he's looking to resume top position if he can get to there.
11 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock and a 1.4 second gap in the GT3 category, but it's a lot closer here for the DPs because Christopher Hill and Damian Dania are within half a second of each other. These coyotes chasing each other down going into the final chicane. You said that Dania was maybe driving with his heart on his sleeve and spitting fire. Will he do the same, or will he drive the same against someone in a similar livery? It looks like that's his teammate on track. Is that correct?
No, I think that's just trading paints or iRacing liveries, maybe freaking out with the change in session. Christopher Hill normally is rocking the yellow Corvette traditional livery as well, so definitely not teammates, and there is no love lost between these two rivals in the championship. So I expect fireworks to be firing off very shortly for these two, as Dania, as you said, driving probably with a little bit of fire coming out of his eyes from all of the issues that he had starting on lap 1, and Christopher Hill, he's looking to make up for a rough first half of this race. You know, it's not very often you get a second chance in an endurance race, and he's looking to make the most of it. So as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, these two came together at the end of the feature race in Indianapolis. Didn't seem like there was any hard feelings between the two of them, but we'll see how that translates once the adrenaline is flowing and tempers are high, competition is fierce, and they know that they're pretty much the top two in the championship as well. So about half a second gap between the two of them at the moment, with Hill getting a little bit better run out of the Schumacher S there, and we'll see if Dania can close down heading into the chicane, and more importantly down into that action spot at turn 1 that you mentioned in the pre-race show.
Let's look at Corey Mitchell and Derek Tyndall in the number 44, awfully close to each other on the backside of the racetrack within 2/10. That's the battle for 5th and 6th right now. Tyndall took tires during that pit stop. He had roughly a 22-second pit stop, and during the red flag session said, well, that was a waste of time, and this isn't going to be a waste of time for the 44 as he licks the stamp and sends it into Coca-Cola. And he might get a position done on the 263 of Corey Mitchell before we even get down to turn number 1 now.
Yeah, Corey's going to look to switch over. He's going to back out of it, though, thinks better of it versus trying to send it in deep and prioritize the run out of it going through the arena section. But Corey just had a little bit of a bad run through the chicane. Easy to do it. Looks simple, it looks fast, but with those curbing in there, it makes it a challenge if you don't get it millimeter perfect, as we've seen a couple of drivers struggle in the race tonight with that chicane and those curves. Derek Tyndall being one of those, as well as Corey Mitchell and Travis Fleming. And Tyndall, having gone around, as we see Corey Mitchell have a little bit of a lockup there, he's going to look to pull away. Similar piece the last couple of laps. So not really much in it from a skills perspective between Derek Tyndall and Corey Mitchell. Equally paced, but it's going to come down to who makes the fewest driver mistakes.
Absolutely. It is typically a battle of mistakes at the end of the day, but here comes Christopher Hill and Damian Dania, charging each other's wits and skill to the absolute brink of things. Christopher Hill holding on for dear life, but he's got that smiley face on his door to keep him company, and I'm sure he's grinning ear to ear right now as he battles with the best of them at ASRL. Brought to you by the Racer Nexus. Don't go anywhere for more racing action. 7 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock, and Christopher Hill leads us for this opportunity. Down into corner number 1, Dania looked to the outside line, couldn't find the daylight there, has to follow through the arena section now.
Yeah, Dania pushing hard. He had a little bit of a lockup going in turn 1, ran a little bit wide there, but that actually gave him a pretty good follow-up through the rest of the arena section as he closed the gap right back up to Christopher Hill in front. That gap stretched a little bit over half a second, but now it's down to about 2, maybe 3/10 of a second at the most. And Dania, he's pushing hard. Christopher Hill, he's pushing hard too. I don't want to see it come to blows, but you have to think that that's a possibility with the way these guys are racing. So definitely they don't want to. They want to fight it out on the track. They want to be hard and fair to one another, but just with the nature of cars with no driver aids, it's so easy to lock up and slide into a car in front of you, and that could be all she wrote. So see how these guys make on. 6 minutes left to go, a little bit over 6 minutes. As Dania, he's getting a better run through the tight and twisty bits of the Nürburgring GP circuit, but Hill seems to be a little bit better on the brakes and a little bit better out of the corners down the long straightaways, and he's being able to hold Dania at bay for the time being.
Absolute Goliaths on the racetrack. Christopher Hill keeping Dania back for a few laps, but like you said, Dania is just posturing his car a little bit more aggressively lap after lap. You can see his patience waning a little bit, and moving over in the braking zone is quite dangerous for the 101. Came back over to the left side, and Dania was obviously ready for that, but I think he would have preferred to hold his own racing line through the arena section again. Single file has to be the order of operation. Corey Mitchell with a meatball flag after crashing into the wall. Let's get a replay of that and see end of Corey Mitchell's race. Unfortunately, it looks like it happened coming down in towards turn number 1. Oh no. He's got damage well before that.
Yeah, looking like he was battling with Derek Tyndall. I'm not sure if he locked up the rear brakes or what, but he slid off the track and hit the right front and the end of the pit wall attenuator, and crunched up the right front of that Corvette Daytona Prototype and broke the right front suspension. So see if we can get a replay of that. But in the meantime, the battle is as fierce as ever between Dania and Hill. That gap under 2/10 of a second now as they're fighting through the tight technical section, heading down to the Coca-Cola chicane.
This is just action-packed stuff. The drivers unrelenting their charge. Dania is just pushing so hard through the NGK chicane. He's kicking up pocket sand to James Watson, who's 8.2 seconds back. I'm sure he's getting a mouthful right now from Dania. And maybe you can help me. Do we have Dania in the control room? Do you know what he looks like?
Yeah, he usually has his camera up and running, but he may not have turned it on this week. So he's A younger gentleman, definitely a ferocious talent, somebody that's very determined to win these races, and he's showing exactly why he is in contention for the championship. There he is on the screen. We found him hiding in the shadows. We brought him out into the light there, as you can see, laser focused on the back of Christopher Hill's Corvette Daytona Prototype in front of him. That 101 machine he does not want to let get away.
And he's definitely not letting him escape just yet, as we go on board and look at the charge coming down into the Dunlop curve. It's nose to tail, separated by just hairlines between them. 2 minutes and 40 seconds remaining on the clock. Can Dania pull out all the stops and get around Christopher Hill? Has he saved enough tires to make it to the end to get this final push done? Last lap around was a 147.9 compared to a 148.0 respectively from the two leaders. Now the look, the lunge, will it be good? And the defense from the 101 on the inside line. The 98 tries to posture himself going into NGK chicane, but into Coca-Cola curve. It will be nose to tail. The 101 leads the 98 by a credit card between the two.
Yeah, absolutely. Dania putting the pressure on, hoping that Hill would make a mistake going through the NGK chicane, maybe off of those curbs or picking up a slowdown penalty. But Dania, his strategy right now is to get the better run through the chicane and look to maybe make a dive into Coca-Cola Curva. And if not there, then set him up on the run down to turn one. But these two, man, they just match each other move for move. It's a matter of anything you can do, I can do better from these two drivers at the moment. And they are absolutely walking away from James Watson at P3. That gap was 7 seconds. Now it's over 9.5.
Dania pushing Hill just a little bit more than I think Hill is comfortable with right now. He's getting the breath breathed down his neck right now from Dania. And it's got to be an uncomfortable position to be in. You can see lap traffic ahead just as the sunlight fades away here in the Nürburgring, Germany. It will be one lap left to go when the drivers cross the line. 57 seconds remaining. The drivers are more than halfway through this lap. Can they do it? It'll be a drag to the line, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Dania, he's got to sit there and say, where am I absolutely the strongest against Hill? Because that's where he's going to want to try and make the move. It could be down in turn one, just get it done right off the bat. Or it could be looking to make a last-ditch effort into the Coca-Cola curve, get the nose to the inside, maybe push him out a little bit wide, box him out on the exit of the curve and the run down to the finish line. But we will see as they are coming through the Coca-Cola curve right now to take that white flag. Barney about to have the white flag in hand, wave it to our two leaders at the moment. But these two guys, they're the fastest on track, the only ones in the 47s at the moment while battling, which is just amazing to watch. And as you said, GT3 traffic up in front, that will certainly play a factor as well. Both Hill and Dania trying to figure out where the best spot is to pass and to inhibit the other driver using that GT car as a pick when they get to it.
And lap traffic giveth, lap traffic taketh away, but we've seen the ASRL drivers perform very well when it comes to lap traffic in the Acura. Number 88 dips out of the way. That'll be Victor Aldrich, a lap down to finish this race and allowing the race leaders to continue their bout. Hill and Dania right now, the 101 leading the number 98, coming down the hill into the Dunlop curve for the final time for the ASRL Sports Car Championship at the Nürburgring.
Yeah, Victor Aldrich choosing the to not be a part of it whatsoever. He bailed out and said, you guys go have fun, don't involve me at all. As we see Dania and Hill make their way through the bit curve and the RTL curve for the final time. Dania dropped back a little bit, but as we've seen before, he kind of does this on the last lap, lags back a little bit, and then at the very end of the lap, he makes the last ditch gasp and tries to cool down the tires a little bit to maximize the amount of grip. So we'll see if he can do the same thing again as he run down to that NGK chicane for a final time. Oh, I'm sorry, they're coming through the final corner. Dania, he went to have a look for it. Couldn't get to the inside of Hill, and Hill is going to win this one.
Dania with a disappointing P2. I'm sure we'll hear about it in that interview. James Watson in P3 battled it to the line with J.W. Miller in P4. Derek Tyndall, a battle of what could have been for him in P5. Pate coming home in P6. Brian Dees in P7. Travis Fleming in P8. Joshua Rutherford will round things out in P9, and Corey Mitchell in the pit lane, P10.
Yeah, Keanu Maduro is going to hold off Daniel Miglin, looks like. Although I say that, they're only about halfway done with this final lap, so it's entirely possible that Miglin could catch Keanu here. He's only 1.3 seconds back, and all that takes is just one bad corner in a GT3 car, and that gap is eviscerated, so... Although it's Miglin that looks like he's picked up a slowdown penalty, so that's going to give some breathing room to Maduro as they make their way through the last few corners here.
It'll be close, but I think it's a little too late for Miglin. A poor run of things for him. One mistake is all it took for Maduro to take the lead and never give it back. The 188 Ford Mustang will cross the line and take the win for the GT3s. And that's going to be a good feeling for the driver from the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. Our current GT3 points leader is going to extend his lead going into next week. So, good result for him. I'm sure he's going to be very happy with the race, even with the disjointed interruption that we had 40 minutes in. So, we'll look forward to talking to him in our post-race interviews.
And speaking of interviews, those will be coming up shortly, folks. So don't go anywhere as we grab the drivers from the ASRL League and we get them queued up to join us in just a few moments' time. Again, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in just a few moments, folks. Thank you. And we're back, folks. Let's talk to Damien Dania, who came home in P2 on the run of things tonight. Damien, do you have a copy?
Yep, I hear you.
Man, oh man, what a race you had tonight. I mean, just the rise and fall of things. How do you keep your composure in a race like this?
Well, I don't think I had any emotions left by the end because I was way too tired. I could barely keep my eyes on the road anymore. But yeah, no, I was legitimately too tired to do anything in the second race, unfortunately. But yeah, so I just kind of was on autopilot. In the first race, yeah, I still had some energy. I had a little bit of a long day today, so I was already tired then. But I at least I found some pace, and I was able to win the what was supposed to be the whole race. But yeah, of course, it was only the first race. At least I get points for it, so that's positive. But yeah, besides that, yeah, I held my composure by just being on autopilot, basically.
Well, you did a good job. We did see your driver cam, and we saw you rubbing your eyes a little bit kind of towards the end there, showing us that you are human and made of blood and bones like the rest of us, getting a little tired after a long day of running. Well, thank you very much for joining us nonetheless. Thank you very much for being here. Brian, did you have any questions for Damien before we ask him if he's got anybody he wants to thank?
Yeah, just curious how you refocus after the technical issues that happened. It was supposed to be an hour-long race, and then we kind of had that issue after 20 laps. So what was your thought process going from the fairly substantial lead that you had to having to restart in a group and fend off? Looks like there was some contact that happened as well into turn one. So what was your thought process and how you were trying to navigate through all of that?
Honestly, I never actually recovered. I was just not in the same mindset after the first race. Yeah, I just kind of sat around. I rested a little bit. But yeah, I did. Actually, besides that, I didn't really do anything. I was just sitting around. No thoughts. I honestly don't remember anything. I'm too tired. I am extremely tired. Extremely tired.
Well, before I let you go get some rest, there's got to be somebody that you'd like to shout out or somebody that you'd like to thank. Who are they?
Actually, before I do that, can I actually ask you guys a question?
Go for it.
About the first race, was the move I made on Chris Hill dirty or not?
I think no. I think you were just definitely a faster driver, and you made a move, and it was successful at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, I didn't actually intend to go for the move. I was not planning it. He just braked so early that I kind of had to avoid a crash, and I went to the inside, so yeah.
And it's always hard to tell from our perspective. It's best to look at the replay, see it from a different points of view, but all's fair in love and war.
I'm 17. I don't have the mindset to figure that stuff out.
Anybody that you'd like to thank or shout out, brother?
I know my mom stayed up late for the race, so thanks to her. Big thanks to Corey for setting everything up. I know he had a little bit of trouble with the race. He accidentally set the lap count to 20, so I know he wasn't feeling good about that, but that is what it is. And besides that, my dad was watching too, and a bit of a shame that my friend Chimmel couldn't join us today, but besides that, I got nothing for now. Only shout outs for my bed, really.
Take care, Damien. Have a great night, brother.
Yep, thank you very much. See you.
See ya. And Brian, we'll let you take over the next one. We've got Maduro coming up next.
Yeah, we got our GT3 winner tonight, Kiana Maduro, in the booth with us. Kiana, you got a copy?
Yes, I'm here.
Walk us through the temporary red flag that you had. How did you balance being locked in and focused for the endurance race, and then having that long pause, and then it turning into a 20-minute sprint race there at the end?
Man, it kind of refocused me, like because I was focused on having to do a few pit stops. I prepared myself, I was practicing on running laps and figuring out how can I maximize my the fuel and tires. But then when it stopped, and I was like, how did I, why did I get past? Well, I'm in second. I'm struggling to get back up. And then I figured out that it was just gonna be a sprint race. I just refocused because the sprint race, I'm just gonna go all out, and they're gonna have to chase me.
Absolutely. And with Daniel Miglin having that spin early on, looked like it might have been a cold tires moment. Did you think you had anything for him if he didn't have that mistake? Do you think you could have taken him on one-on-one or
yeah, so if you go back and watch the race, I kind of was waiting for him to get up onto the back of my bumper so that I could have a race. I knew he was gonna spin on the cold tires because of how hard he was pushing from the beginning, and that's why I was sitting back, because I was I know how these cold tires are. I don't care what car you're in. It could be the Acura, the Mustang, Ferrari, anyone, any one of them on cold tires gets really snappy. So
Yeah, that answers a question that I had in my head when I saw that gap drop from about 5 seconds to about 2.5 once he worked his way around Corey and Victor, was if you had maybe let off to let him catch up, so you had a race to the end there. So thank you for confirming some suspicions I might have had there. But you're handedly in the lead of the GT3 Championship at the moment, heading to, I believe it's Sandown next week. What's your thought process or expectations going into the next round?
same thing. I'm probably gonna prepare again, do a few days of like preparation, see what times I can like squeeze out a Sandown, and then next week when we go in and everyone's practicing, I'm gonna see where everyone sits compared to me in time, and I'll know what I have to do moving forward from there. But it's always preparation. Like, I prepare ahead of time so that when I do get into the race, I know how the car behaves in every corner, what it's gonna do, and what limits I can push and can't push. And I just try to stay consistent, and always gets me to win most of the time, unless I'm having like a black flag issue or a brain fart moment like last week where I got that black flag, and everything like started to spiral because I went into the pit when the pit wasn't even open, and then I had to serve a 50-second overtime. But it's always just preparation.
Absolutely. Well, before we let you go for the night, any folks you'd love to give a shout out to?
I'd like to thank you guys for broadcasting to people at home so can see this. Corey Rutherford for putting on this league, and friends, families, the people watching, and my wife.
Absolutely. Got to shout out the wife. Well, congratulations again on the GT3 victory and extending your points lead in the championship. And we will see you next week at Sandown.
All right. Thank you guys. Have a good night.
What a great interview. I mean, just to hear about the focus and dedication from Maduro. He put in the practice and it ends up paying off at the end of the day. Now, Brian, what's your big takeaway from tonight's event? Pretty much as expected or not so much?
I think a little bit of both. It was yet another round of Hill versus Dania, which I think we've come to expect week in, week out, no matter what track we go to. Those two are definitely going to battle all season long. And so it was a renewed rivalry of some sort there. And, for GT3, it was some new faces, some new cars, as a couple of folks swapped cars this week, notably, of course, with Daniel Miglin trading in his BMW for the Acura NSX and immediately paying dividends. And, the other big takeaway, you heard it there when we were talking with Keanu, the spirit of competition seems to be so strong with these guys that, you would... in Maduro's spot, willingly give up time because he wants to race with Miglin and others. They want to enjoy that competition with each other, and even amongst leagues that's rare to see. So kind of my hats off to ASRL for creating this spirit of competition, of community, and not just running away with it just because you had luck shining down on you in the race tonight. So that's kind of my takeaways for week 4 here at the Nürburgring GP circuit. What about you, though?
This is a more exciting championship than I ever could have imagined. The DP Coyotes versus the GT3s out on track at the same time. I knew I was in for a treat when I heard about the track car combos. I didn't know how much fun it was going to be on top of it. That's my big takeaway from the night, is that this is just a league where you get to show up, drive, and have fun with a couple of other people that you want to enjoy sim racing with. So get yourself installed to your sim rig. Find us in the description. Join ASRL and come fill this grid. We have plenty more races to come in the championship season. And like Brian said, we'll see you at Sandown in 1 week's time. Let's give a big shout out to our sponsors for the evening before we let you go. Apex Sim Shop. Thank you very much to Apex Sim Racing for all your sim racing needs. Make sure you check out Apex Sim Racing. And the track cameras tonight were brought to you by the Track Cams for Gourmet. Check out Track Cams for Gourmet for all of the beautiful track cameras that you saw here tonight on the broadcast. It's been a pleasure to be your host, as always, for ASRL and the Racer Nexus. I've been Sagar Bakshi. Joined with me in the booth has been Brian Zinn tonight. And it's been a pleasure to join with you and be part of such an historic event. But for now, it's time to say adieu. And we'll join you next week, same time, same place, on the Racers Nexus YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, all that good stuff. Have a great night. And as always, make sure you stay safe out there. Bye-bye for now.